Okay, we're going to discuss time. It's time to talk about time. What is time? There is artificial time and there is real time. What is the difference? Artificial time is the time that man tells by the clock. Man measures time, the passage of time. We have 24-hour days, and then we have 365-day years, and that's how we tell the time. We have leap years and what have you. But that's called artificial time. What is real time? Real time is impossible to measure. Real time, let's take, for example, 1/trillionth of a second of real time, right? Well, when we take a second, that's artificial time. Now, when we talk about real time, in order to understand the concept of real time, it's a very difficult concept to grasp. It's a reality, not just a concept. It's a concept in reality, a concept of reality, in reality. And in order to understand what time really is, then we're going to have to understand something about a second of time. If you can divide 1 second of time into a trillion parts, which is called a picosecond, 1/trillionth of a second, that's 1/trillionth of a fraction of a second, right? 1/trillionth of a second that means you can divide 1 second into a trillion fractions of a second. And each one of those trillionth of a seconds can also be divided into trillion parts of a second. And that's called a picosecond of a picosecond, you see. So since 1 second of time can be divided up ad infinitum, you can take a picosecond of a picosecond of a picosecond. And therefore we see that time itself is not measurable really, because we don't have the wherewithal. We don't have the instruments. We don't have the clocks. Even with the best atomic clocks, we don't have the clock that can measure a picosecond of a picosecond of a picosecond and ad infinitum. And therefore time itself is moving very swiftly, you see. It's moving at the speed of infinite, and infinite speed is beyond our ability to fathom how fast real time is actually moving. So when we discuss real time, real time is traveling at a speed that we're not able to measure it. When we talk about a second, that's artificial time. That's man imposing his measurement on the passage of time. And time is always moving forward. It never stops, and it's a constant speed, never ever changing. Time is more constant than the speed of light. Albert Einstein used the speed of light as the constant in E equals mc squared. However, the speed of time is actually more constant, but since we're not able to measure it, you're not able to measure the speed of real time because it's speeding along at the speed of infinite, you say. The truth is, space is also like that, because Einstein was right. I agree with him that space and time are one and the same. That's why he called it space-time. And space and time are really one and the same thing, because they're both infinite at their essence, you say. Since space is also, because you can divide a meter into a picometer, a trillionth of a meter, and you can divide a picometer into a picometer. You can take ad infinitum, just like you can with a second of time. You can take a meter and divide it ad infinitum. So therefore, space itself is also infinite. Now, most scientists and thinkers and philosophers and scholars don't want to agree that time itself and space itself is infinite. They don't want to agree to that. And that's just a lie, because that's the truth. That's the reality, that the essence of time is infinity and the essence of space is infinity. And there's only room in the universe for one infinite, you see. And I'll discuss this. First, let's make a l'chaim. I wish you all peace, love, happiness, and joy. This right now, we are on Sunday. The calendar date is Sunday, November 21st, 2021. So interesting, huh? 11/21, 2021. Interesting number. People like to analyze numbers, but these are arbitrary, artificial numbers. The Gregorian calendar is arbitrary and artificial, as opposed to the Hebrew calendar, which is actually God-given. The Hebrew calendar was given to us by God himself, because all of the laws of Moses, not just the Ten Commandments, but Moses taught us many laws of God. And one of those laws is how to tell time, you see. And therefore, already 2,000 years ago, Rabbi Hillel In the Talmud, he already gave us a tradition, wrote it down, and every Talmudic scholar can learn how the Hebrew calendar works. When we count 5,782 years, that's from the sixth day of creation, where God made man. The first 5 days of creation, where it says there was morning, there was evening, there was evening, there was morning, day one, you say. There was not sun, moon, and stars, day one, day two, day three, until day four, when God created the sun, the moon, and the stars. But the first 3 days of creation, all there was heavens and earth. And there was darkness. On the first day, there was darkness. It doesn't say explicitly that God created the darkness. However, we know that the darkness didn't exist before God created it, you say. Because there was no darkness before God created darkness. Now, when we discuss infinite, the point that I'm making here is the first 3 days of creation, prior to sun, moon, and stars, which was only created on the fourth day. So the first 3 days were not 24-hour days, because you can only have a 24-hour day when you have this cycle of sunrise and sunset, which only happens when you have the sun in relation to the earth. So at least you need the sun and the earth, and there wasn't until the fourth day. There was no sun, moon, and stars, you say. Now, the Hebrew calendar is based on the lunar cycle, but we also adjust it because based on the fact that Passover must always fall in the springtime. So 2,000 years ago, the rabbis already put into position the calendar for all future generations. 2,000 years ago already, a rabbi by the name of Rabbi Hillel, not to be confused with Hillel the Elder, this was a later Hillel. There were two Hillels in the rabbinic traditions of 2,000 years ago. There was the great Hillel the Elder that we learned many things from. And there was a later rabbi by the name of Rabbi Hillel. And Rabbi Hillel was the one who put together the Hebrew calendar for all generations, and no one disagrees on the exact count, as far as I know, that God gave the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai in the Hebrew year of 2448, and now we're at 5782. You do the math, subtract 2448 from 5782, and you'll get 3,334. This year is going to be 3,334. Last year was 3,333 years. And it's still in that year right now, actually, until the holiday of Shavuos, which comes 50 days after the holiday of Passover. In other words, so we're still in the year 3,333 since the time when God gave the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai by Moses himself. And there he taught us that what infinite is. Infinite, most scholars, most geniuses don't understand the concept of infinite. It's a very hard concept to grasp. By definition, the word infinite means not finite, not measurable in time or space, in space-time. You're not able to measure. Anything which is infinite is not measurable. And therefore, if you take a line that begins with point A and goes to infinity in one direction, that's not a true infinity. That's an artificial infinity. Why? Because it's finite. It begins at point A. So right away, you see it's finite. Any point is finite. Because infinite, there is no point. It's everywhere, you say. There is no, and not only is infinite everywhere, but it's not traveling through time and space. If infinite were to be traveling through space-time, and he could measure it, so then that's not infinite because it's measurable, you see. Anything traveling within the framework, anything moving within, and everything is moving, you see. The earth is constantly moving, so everything on earth is moving. Even though this sofa seems to be standing still and this wall behind me is not moving, but it's moving together with the earth, which is spinning at a speed of 24,000 miles, 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. And we don't feel it. And why don't we feel the Earth's speed? Not only is it spinning at 1,000 miles per second at the equator, but it's also revolving around the sun at a very, very high speed. As far as I can recall, it's revolving at the speed of 215,000 miles 215,000 miles per hour. The speed of the Earth revolving around the sun, is 66,600 miles per hour. Approximately, you see, it's because it has two zeros at the end. So the speed of the Earth as it revolves around the sun is 66,600 miles per hour. You see, everything's moving. Nothing stands still. Even though this sofa and this wall behind me is not moving, but it's only not moving in relation to the earth upon which it is embedded into, or the sofa rests upon. It rests upon the tiles on the floor, and the house rests upon the earth, rests in the earth. So you see, the house itself in which I sit now is stationary in relation to the earth, but the earth itself is moving, and therefore the house is moving as well, you say. Now, if you have a boat, and within the boat, a person is sitting. The person's sitting still. He's not moving, but the boat is moving along at the speed of 10 knots, whatever it is. So, even though the person is sitting still, but the person is moving together with the boat as the boat goes with the river flow. And now the time, the speed of the sun. The sun is also moving. Not only is the Earth in orbit around the sun together with the other planets that are orbiting the sun, but the whole sun itself, the sun itself is revolving around the vortex of our galaxy. They call it a black hole. I disagree. I don't like the term black hole. I call it the vortex dark energy sphere. It's a dark energy sphere at the vortex of every galaxy, because that's what holds the stars in the cluster of the galaxy. Or else the stars would just each star go their own way. What makes the stars stay in their cluster? Because a galaxy is a cluster of stars. Well, what makes those stars remain in its cluster? It's because at the vortex of that cluster is a dark energy sphere which has so much gravitational force and pull that is pulling all of the stars in its orbit. And what is the speed of the sun as it revolves around this vortex of our galaxy, which they call the Milky Way galaxy, which is such a ridiculous name to call our galaxy? All the stars that you see in the night sky with your naked eye are stars of our galaxy. They used to call that the Milky Way galaxy, that cluster of stars. They're so dense that it looks like a Milky Way. And they called it the Milky Way galaxy when they thought that was a separate galaxy. But now they know that all of the stars that you see with your naked eye in the night sky are stars of our galaxy. You cannot see galaxies with your naked eye. You need a Hubble Space Telescope to be able to see galaxies that are beyond our galaxy. Anyway, the speed of the sun, that means the sun is revolving around the vortex of our galaxy. What is the speed of that revolution? Now, how they know this, I really don't know. I don't know how they can know this, but they know. They claim to know that the speed of the sun as it revolves around the vortex of our galaxy, which they call a black hole, which I disagree once again. I call it a dark energy sphere. It's a sphere of dark energy, very dense dark energy. It's not as dense as the sphere which is at the vortex of the universe, which all of the galaxies are revolving around. All, by the way, all the revolutions are clockwise. The revolution of the Earth is clockwise. The revolution of the moon as it revolves around the Earth is clockwise. The Earth revolving together with all the planets around the sun, all of them are going clockwise. Oh, why don't any of the planets go counterclockwise? Why do all 9 planets go clockwise as they orbit the sun, and on the same plane actually as well? They know that all of the planets are actually on the same plane, which they call the ecliptic. How is it, if it's random, how could it be that from a random Big Bang, how could it be from a random Big Bang, all of this synchronicity and all of this order? We see order, not chaos. When you look at the cosmos, when you look at our solar system, you see orderly planets all revolving in the same direction, in the same ecliptic, on the same plane, all of them going in the same direction clockwise. Not one of them. If it was random, you would think at least one of them maybe would go counterclockwise. Random. For anyone to suggest that the universe came about from a random Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago, is just someone who just really is either lying to himself, not that smart, and if he is that smart or she is that smart, then she really or he never really took the time to actually look at it with intellectual honesty. I'm sorry to say. And that's unfortunately, that's most geniuses in the world just haven't understood these points. And that's why I feel like I have to share my wisdom with people. So maybe one day will come when people will actually seek truth and want to know what real time is and what artificial time is and how the universe came into being, not by a random big bang and everything came into existence by a random big bang and everything is random. Let's go random. I guess it's at least 95% of scholars, thinkers, scientists believe in this nonsense that the universe came into existence from a random big bang. And the whole universe came about. The order that we see is just an illusion. It's not really orderly. There's nothing but chaos. I heard Richard Dawkins say that explicitly. The progenitor of atheism in the world. Thank you, Dr. Richard Dawkins, for giving us. And he says that everything is chaos. There's no order anywhere in the universe. Well, of course, you have to look subatomically. When you look at the subatomic reality, then you see nothing but chaos. Yes, but when you look at the universe, and when you look at human beings like to put things into order. Why is it if human beings came as a result of a random big bang, and then eventually life came to Earth somehow as a result of this big bang? If you follow the chain of events, the chain of causation from the first bang until now. So all of us are really, all of life on Earth is a result of the Big Bang. Where did we come from? Where did the universe come from? A Big Bang, a random Big Bang. A random Big Bang that took place 13.8 billion years ago, and here we are. So why is it that man likes to put things in order? Every human being has human nature. A normal human being, a healthy mind of a human being wants to keep things in order. You buy a pack of cigarettes, every pack has 20 smokes. Everything is in order, you see. Everything is orderly. Mankind, by his nature, is to put order where he sees chaos. And we see that in nature also. You see schools of fish, very orderly. You see flocks of birds, very orderly. You see colonies of ants and bees, very orderly. You see, everywhere you look in nature, and everywhere you look in the cosmos, you see an orderly solar system. All the 9 planets in the same plane, which they call the ecliptic, revolving in the same direction around the sun. You see nothing but order when you look at the cosmos and when you look at nature and life on Earth. You see order. Yes, there are chaotic times where seemingly we have chaos, but for the most part, 90% of what we see is orderly. And therefore, when we discuss infinite, you cannot say that a line that starts at point A and goes into one direction to infinity, you cannot use the word infinity. You're using it against the definition of the word itself. And that's how people get fooled into thinking they know what infinity is. They don't know what infinity is. Because infinite is not measurable. It's infinite, not finite. Finite means measurable in space-time. And if you cannot measure something, now it depends on why you can't measure it. If the reason why you can't measure it is because you can't see it, like dark energy and dark matter, that doesn't mean that dark energy and dark matter are infinite. It just means you cannot measure it. But something which cannot be measurable, which is not possible to measure. For example, space-time. Space-time itself is not measurable. Like I said, since you can take a second of time and divide it into a trillionth of a second, a picosecond it's called. And it can take a picosecond and take a picosecond of a picosecond of a picosecond, dividing it ad infinitum. Therefore, time itself is infinite because it's not measurable. This that we measure time, that's a superimposed way of measuring time, but that's not the measurement of time itself. We have no idea. We have no way to measure time itself because it's traveling at the speed of infinite. And same thing with space. Space and time are one and the same thing. Einstein taught us that. Space and time are one and the same thing. When you take a picometer, it's a trillionth of a meter. You can take a picometer of a picometer of a picometer, because to measure space, you can measure it ad infinitum, and therefore space itself is also infinite. At the very essence of space-time is infinite, and that is God. God is the only infinite being. There's only room for one infinite being. Excuse me. There's only room for one infinite being in the universe, and we'll discuss that next time. Thank you very much. Peace and love to you all, and I bless you with health, happiness, and joy always.